The fourth power is the power of awareness, which means one knows precisely what is occurring and what one is doing. Usually, we are not aware of what is happening. The power of awareness, however, can develop two levels of mental stability. The fifth level, called taming, which we learned yesterday, and the sixth level, called pacification. Normally, our minds lack the motivation for meditation. As a result, meditation becomes a very difficult task. We often lack the motivation for meditation. When I first began meditating, I had a strong motivation and enjoyed it. That's why I progressed quickly. I was interested. When people have an interest, they can play basketball, sing karaoke, or do whatever they enjoy all night without feeling tired. Some, for example, can play video games for days without even having a proper meal. If you practice meditation with such enthusiasm, you will succeed. We must have a strong motivation to practice meditation. Often, we lack that motivation and become lazy. After practicing for a while, we might say to ourselves, "I'm very tired. I need to rest. I've been diligent enough today." That's how we are. I speak from experience. When I was learning meditation, I hardly slept at night. Why? Because as I sat, deluded thoughts would fade and there was no desire to sleep. However, it's difficult for us to reach that state now. As I've grown older, my energy has weakened. The vitality I had at 20 was different. Moreover, back then I practiced alone, whereas now I have to guide a large group, like pulling a train. It's not easy. This is a kind of power. Once you wake up, do not let yourself go back to sleep. After waking, sit up immediately, drink some water, wash your face, and begin meditating. When you get tired from meditation, you can lie down for a while. I'm not saying you are forbidden to lie down, but once you wake up, you should sit up and meditate. After waking, you should not turn over and go back to sleep, like worldly people do. This is also due to habits from past lives. Whatever I do, I tend to be diligent. Without motivation, meditation becomes difficult. Therefore, we should know the merits, power, and effects of meditation. With the power of taming, however, we become aware of the qualities and benefits of meditation. It benefits both ourselves and others, helps us develop clairvoyance and miraculous powers, and enhances our understanding and wisdom. Being aware of all the merits and benefits of meditation draws us toward it and encourages us to practice it. Thus, our mind becomes tamed. Hence, the level of taming that arises from the power of awareness leads to the sixth level of mental stability, called pacification. After samatha meditation, it is important to maintain mindfulness and awareness in the post-meditation state. With mindfulness, we don't forget the state of our mind. With awareness, we are very clear about what is happening within. To those who wish to control their minds, Shantideva said, "With my palms joined, I earnestly ask you to make mindfulness and awareness supremely important." During meditation, mindfulness and awareness are very important. After meditation, one should also strive to maintain mindfulness and awareness as much as possible. This is cultivated through training. We should keep mindfulness and awareness at all times. In Tibetan, Drenpa means mindfulness and Sheshen means awareness. Drenpa carries the meaning of mindfulness and memory. It refers to being mindful of what one is doing and remembering what one needs to do, whether one is meditating, has lost concentration, or is in other situations. Mindfulness is like the cause, and awareness is like the result. When one has very concentrated mindfulness, one immediately notices the arising of a thought, and this becomes awareness or sheshen. Thus, one knows what is occurring. Usually, one doesn't know what is in one's mind or what one is thinking. Ordinary beings are generally like this. So, they lack awareness. However, if one has mindfulness, we can say that one also has awareness, for mindfulness brings mental stability. Therefore, when one possesses awareness, it arises from mindfulness of what is happening. This paragraph involves two pairs of Buddhist terms, perceiver and percept, as well as self-awareness and awareness of self-awareness. Self-awareness refers to mindfulness, while awareness of self-awareness refers to the awareness that knows one is being mindful. They are essentially one. The mind has the perceiver and the percept aspects, as well as self-awareness and awareness of self-awareness. At this level of pacification, the sixth stage, we become aware of the negative nature of distraction. Shantideva explained, when the mind is distracted, it is caught between the fangs of the wild beast of afflictions. Moreover, a distracted mind is the source of all difficulties and mental obstacles in this life and future lives. Being in a state of distraction increases the negative tendencies of the mind. However, recognizing these negative traits motivates us to meditate. A distracted mind is in a state of chaos. It is the source of all difficulties and mental obstacles in this life and future lives. Since you don't control the mind, it drifts along with karma. Ordinary beings are completely carried by karma, out of control. No one guards the gate. The fifth power is diligence. This power gives rise to the seventh level of mental stability, complete pacification. In the previous level of pacification, one repeatedly reflects on the benefits of meditation and the faults of distraction, eliminating these faults. However, when strong obstacles arise, such as unhappiness, regret, or anger, merely contemplating the benefits of meditation cannot immediately remove them. One needs the power of diligence to eradicate powerful obstacles such as attachment, anger, and ignorance, thereby attaining the seventh level of meditative stability, complete pacification. The power of diligence also gives rise to the eighth level of mental stability, one-pointedness. When all mental distractions are eliminated, the mind can rest single-pointedly. At this stage, one can meditate without much effort, and diligence is applied to maintain this one-pointed state. After a certain point, diligence arises effortlessly. Abide naturally, and the mind does not wander. In this state, one feels peaceful. As the mind has become stable, it is no longer easily carried away. The first mental engagement is also called tightly controlled engagement, which is related to the first two levels of mental stability. The second mental engagement, called interrupted engagement, relates to the third through seventh levels of stability. At the beginning, mental engagement must be intense and tightly controlled. When first practicing meditation, the mind must apply strong effort with firm control. In the second mental engagement, interrupted engagement, you should not exert too much force. At times, you can relax or pause the mental engagement. Interrupted engagement means that one rests the mind in a state of stability. Then, this state is interrupted by some defect, and one applies a remedy. This situation repeats, and one continues applying remedies. As a result, one's stability is continually interrupted. When one's meditative stability is interrupted, their mental engagement is also interrupted and not as tightly controlled as before. Once one has entered meditation, intense effort is no longer required. When interrupted, apply the antidote. When not interrupted, there is no need to use an antidote or direct the mind. At the eighth level of mental stability, one-pointedness, one develops the third mental engagement, uninterrupted engagement. At this stage, the mind focuses on a single point and remains there without interruption. The sixth power is the power of familiarization. At this level, the mind settles naturally without the need for effort or discipline. The fourth mental engagement, called naturally present engagement, is related to this power. The ninth level of mental stability is called resting in equanimity. At this level, with the sixth power and the fourth mental engagement, the mind just rests in equanimity, relaxed and effortless. This is the highest level of mental stability. In the above, we have learned the six powers. The fifth is diligence, and the sixth is familiarization. Through diligence, one becomes familiar with meditation, and with familiarity, practice becomes effortless. In the later stages, meditation becomes easy, like a child who has learned to walk. Isn't walking very easy for us now? When a child first learns to walk, it is very difficult, yet now we can run very fast. Likewise, meditation is cultivated gradually through training. We may stumble along the way, just like a child stumbles while learning to walk. The 5 faults and 8 antidotes are taught in Distinguishing at the Middle from the Extremes, composed by Asanga. This text is one of the 5 treatises of Maitreya. The Buddha's teachings are divided into the sutras, the Vinaya, and the Abhidhamma. Distinguishing the Middle from the Extremes is a commentary on the Abhidhamma. The 9 levels of mental stability are taught in Maitreya's Ornament of the Mahayana Sutras, which explains and clarifies the teachings of the sutras. The 6 powers and 4 mental engagements are found in the levels of the Shravakas, one of the 5 works of Asanga. To summarize, when we meditate, faults may arise that prevent the development of meditation. When Bodhisattvas meditate, they see the faults that arise, identify them, and eliminate them with the appropriate antidotes. If we cannot recognize these faults during meditation, we will not progress toward Buddhahood. Through the teachings, we can identify these faults and know how to apply the correct antidotes. This particular teaching should be experienced directly, not just studied intellectually. When the 5 faults arise in meditation, we should apply the 8 antidotes, the 6 powers, and the 4 mental engagements. Furthermore, through meditation, we should be able to identify which level of mental stability we have reached. Therefore, these meditation instructions are very important, and we must understand them thoroughly. This is not difficult. I think it is simple. Although I had not studied these teachings previously, I progressed quickly in meditation. Acquiring too much knowledge can sometimes complicate practice. As you practice, you might ponder, which stage have I reached now? Back then, I had not studied these, yet I entered meditation directly and advanced swiftly. We can adjust on our own. When distracting thoughts arise, direct your attention back to the object of meditation, and the distractions will naturally subside. Once you recognize a problem, immediately return to the path. When anger emerges, stop meditating and cultivate loving kindness and compassion to eliminate that anger. When greed arises, practice generosity or reflect on impurity. While we have discussed so much, it is all contained in the teachings. Back then, I also studied some meditation teachings, though they were relatively simple. You may briefly read some meditation teachings, but don't make it too complicated. Grasp the key points, otherwise mindfulness will be absent. For example, when your mind focuses on a Buddha image, your mindfulness is guarding your eye consciousness. At the same time, your awareness knows that you are maintaining this mindfulness. When your mind, the perceiver, focuses on an object, the percept, your mindfulness, the self-awareness, knows that you are looking, and your awareness of self-awareness is aware of that mindfulness. These are the 4 aspects of the mind. Similarly, in meditation, one focuses on the meditation object, the percept, while awareness operates in the background. The self-awareness should recognize that subject and object are non-dual. Dharma practice is not that complicated. When there is an opportunity, I can elaborate on this topic to help you understand more clearly, so you can avoid detours in meditation. Those who have never practiced need clear guidance, otherwise you won't even know your current stage. In fact, as greed diminishes and afflictions lessen, one can naturally enter meditation with ease. Simply put, the reason we cannot enter concentration is that we have too much greed, anger, and delusion. We cling either to the 8 worldly concerns or to the Dharma. We worry too much about gain and loss. This is the crux. Whatever you cling to, even attachment to the Dharma, can cause anxiety. Once anxiety arises, you cannot sit still. When worry stirs, you lose meditative stability. Attachment to your practice or your progress, such as worrying about when you will attain enlightenment, only fuels anxiety. Even attachment to meditation itself brings anxiety. Once anxious, disturbances from others can irritate you, and once irritated, you cannot enter meditative absorption. These issues create obstacles. The key point is that anxiety over gain and loss prevents you from maintaining meditation practice. Therefore, we need wisdom. With wisdom, you can identify your problems. So, please practice meditation diligently.